At Quest, we want to connect everyone to the value of science. And what better way to do that than to profile people who love science and engineering and technology and math, who work for the really innovative companies in and around the Tri-Valley. So I'm pleased today to welcome you to Quest Career Snapshots. I'm Amy Ains. I'm a volunteer on the Quest Advisory Board, and I am delighted to have with me today Jessica Brillant. She is with Roche Molecular Solutions, and Roche is a company that's really innovative. Earlier this year, they worked at lightning speed to commercialize the first available COVID-19 test. And Jessica's been with Roche since 2002, and she's got a great career story to tell. Welcome, Jessica. So glad you're here.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you for having me. It's a wonderful experience to join Quest on their great endeavors for science awareness.
Jessica is a scientist, but today her title is Director of Integrated Marketing Communications. So you've got a really interesting journey that took you here. And you know, when I think about the question we always ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? How was it that you found your way to being a scientist?
Yeah, it was an interesting adventure, I would say. You know, as a kid, I was always very interested in what was going on around me. Nature, we had this backyard that was all hills, and there were water catchways or water ravines. So I used to go in my backyard and jump over the fence and take, you know, a cut open bottle of Coke, and I would scoop up all the tadpoles, hundreds and hundreds of tadpoles. And I would bring them back and I would put them in like a bin. And I would spend hours on hours outside just studying what would happen to these tadpoles and how they would grow and what I need to put in the water and how do I clean it. And, you know, if some of them died, what did I do wrong? And I would go catch some more and I would change the bin to something else. So I kind of realized really early on that that was something that I was interested in. I wanted to do something to help people. I was young, so my initial instinct was, oh, I'm gonna go and be pre-med. I'm gonna be a doctor. That was my initial sort of instinct. This is what I want to do. I want to be a doctor. At that time, I love kids, you know, babysitting and working with kids in the neighborhood. So I thought a natural mix for me was pediatrics. So that was my goal when I was a young, naive 18-year-old. Things changed a little bit once I got into college and I was on the pre-med track. That's when I realized I had a biochemistry class that it was viewed as like one of those classes in college that weeded out everyone that wasn't serious. It was super hard, super hard class. I would say about maybe a good third of the biology majors dropped out after they did not succeed in biochemistry. I loved it. It was like, I love it. This is amazing. And I loved being in the lab.
It's interesting that your career idea at first was kind of a classic career, right? Become a doctor. So talk a little bit about the career choices that you've made along the way. And I know you also went back to school to get an MBA. Help us understand, you know, sort of that evolution for you.
Well, once I realized I wanted to be in the lab after biochemistry, that was kind of my awakening. I realized I spoke with a couple of people that I knew in the industry. And what it was like. I had some connections, you know, family, friends of friends that they knew someone that was working in this lab or that lab. And I just called them up and I spoke to them like, hey, you know, what does it take to succeed, to get my foot in the door? What do I need to do? A lot of them advised me like, go to grad school. Oh, okay, all right, yep, that makes sense. I should go to grad school, and that's what I did after St. Mary's, after I finished my undergraduate. I went to grad school and I got my master's in molecular biology, and that was a huge help for me once I graduated and I got pretty quickly into the industry. Um, it was an interesting first year in the industry. You have to kind of, get your foot in the door to understand what it entails, and get that firsthand experience. I worked for a very small startup company. There were about 50 of us at the beginning, and startup companies have amazing opportunities. You can get involved in so much. There's so much going on. It's very fast paced. It's also a lot on your shoulders. So at one point I realized I think I want to go for a little bit more established of a company that might have processes and hierarchy and organizations that you can work with. I think it was great that I had that opportunity as a young college graduate going into that environment. I was exposed to so much. And it's great when you're trying to figure out, right out of school, trying to figure out which track do I want to go on? Do I want to go this direction? Do I want to go into regulatory? Do I want to go into patents? Scientists can consider going into law if they want to be a patent attorney and dealing with science and innovation. Do I want to go into management, marketing? You're exposed to everything in that startup environment. When I joined Roche in 2002, I was on the science side doing research for HIV therapeutics. That was really a great experience. It was a lot of hands-on work, collaborating with chemists that were developing new molecules that would help HIV patients and the whole community. So that's when I kind of realized, wow, what I'm doing is really making an impact. Like this is incredible. I'm working on a drug that's potentially going to help patients improve their healthcare management, improve their quality of life. Like this is a big deal, and it really kind of came to heart that what I'm doing is making an impact. That's when I realized, okay, this is like accomplishing my childhood dreams, right? I'm helping people. I'm doing science. I'm in the lab, something that I really love to do. And like this is like a win-win-win right now. At some point along my pharma pathway, when I was at Roche Pharma, there weren't that many people in the HIV lab. There was 3 of us, and we were in a biosafety level 3 in the basement, a double containment cinder block. You pretty much were only 1 or 2 people in there at a time. Mostly it was me by myself. Me, myself, and I in the level 3 lab. And I was in there like 8 to 10 hours a day, sometimes 8 to 10 hours a day by myself. I used to get in trouble because I would find ways to entertain myself. So I used to get in trouble because I would put the radio so loud, and I would sing with my pipette, like sing with my pipette, doing my experiments. Microphone I was by myself. No one was watching, so I didn't really think much about it.
You created your own entertainment. Yeah. It sounds like it got a little bit lonely there. Yeah.
It got a little lonely. The labs next door used to complain that their walls were vibrating because the music was loud. And I had this moment where I thought, am I going to be doing this the rest of my life? And that's when, again, I had some conversations with different people that I knew, scientists that had gone into product development, or marketing or communications. I had some conversations with them, and they said, have you thought about getting your MBA? That would be a great experience for you.
So after you got your MBA, did you immediately make the shift, or was that an evolution as well to becoming somebody who moved? And what I love about your career story is how you've taken your science acumen and combined it with your communication skills And I think that's a really key part of what's been so interesting about your career. Tell us a little bit more about that.
It was an evolution. It took a little bit of time. I think I had a lot of great support within the company. They knew me. They valued working with me. They trusted me. And it took a little bit more networking and volunteering. Hey, can I help you do something on a project that you're working on? And I'd love to do something on the side with you. It took more networking for me to sort of establish myself as someone that can potentially transition into marketing. It was about a year.
That's great advice for people. That I just want to catch that, because that is such vital career
Yep.
advice, especially when you want to transition from the role you've been in. People knew you with your pipettes, in the lab, and for you to be able to make that shift. I love that you recognize the need to do that. And it sounds like it paid off.
Yeah, it was a fun experience because I tried to meet as many people as I could and understand what they were doing and get involved in their work and show them like, hey, I'm committed to this. I want to collaborate with you. This is something that I'm interested in for my future and to help the company. What can I do? There was a lot going on that year because I had transitioned to Roche Diagnostics in 2005 and finished my MBA in 2005 and was networking and trying to figure out, like, what am I going to do? How am I going to transition into marketing? So there was a lot going on. But once I sort of got past, that there's this period of time where you're kind of at a double-edged sword, right? I got to find someone that would give me a shot, but most people are looking for someone with experience. So how do you get past that threshold? Once that happened at the end of 2006, 2007 was full-time communications.
Tell us about a typical day. What goes on for you in the work that you're doing now?
I would do anything from planning marketing materials to a huge event where a booth is being displayed and our product is within the booth, press releases, media activities, social media, internet content that you might see on our web pages. So the whole sort of gamut marketing mix is where I work with a lot of the product developers, product marketing developers, and we come up with just broad scale marketing strategy and all the tactics that we need. I feel like having the science background that I have, I can go into, whatever document it might be. It might be a package insert. It might be a white paper that was written up internally. It could be an in-house file that we have that contains all the data. I can take that information and translate it into those messages that we should be communicating to the external environment so they know all the wonderful things that they can benefit from the products that we develop.
What are some of the really cool things you've gotten a chance to do as a result of the work you've been doing for the last many, many years at Roche?
I think that so much of what Roche does really resonates with so many of the employees around the world. I mean, we're touching healthcare almost at every point. I think for me, I've been very lucky in my career to have these two highlights that really stand out in my mind. We have a program in place that focuses on increasing access to HIV diagnostics and other diagnostic solutions now for hepatitis, for tuberculosis, and for women's health in resource-limited settings. So, if we look at developing countries, a lot of countries in Africa, they might not have the resources that you and I have in the US or in Europe or in Asia. These are countries that need help to implement healthcare programs. They need help to get patients into the clinic to get their diagnostic tests done. For the HIV community, it's a huge impact in Africa for them to have access to these life-saving diagnostic tests, to know their HIV status, to know that their HIV therapeutics are working. Both of those ingredients require diagnostic tests. And, but for this program, they would be without them. So knowing that I'm a part of the Roche Global Access Program has really, brought some just great feeling of accomplishment, and it's very humbling to know how much you're impacting in the world, how many people you're reaching. I feel like that's like one of the highlights of my career. I think it'll always be one of the highlights of my career. I would say the second highlight of my career is really where we are right now with the Roche coronavirus portfolio, and how much we've all, as a Roche community, been working together to get these solutions out into the as quickly as possible. I mean, just huge human efforts have gone into what we've been doing to just help with the pandemic. It's just been incredible to be a part of it. And I would say, back in March, when our announcement came out, it was March 13th, when our announcement came out for the first coronavirus PCR test. I was just overwhelmed with a great sense of, pride in what Roche is doing. And I couldn't believe that I had that opportunity to be a part of it. And I literally was like watching and just in tears and like texting my parents, like, look what we did. It was pretty profound. And I feel so blessed that I had the opportunity to be involved in those two great projects. And I know that Roche is set up for so much more in the future. So I think the future is bright, and I look forward to so much more.
So let's talk for a minute about when you're not at work. How do you enjoy spending your time?
I have a Peloton. I like to ride on different Peloton rides and do my workout on my ride. And then I paint. I like to paint with watercolor. I do pet portraits. I do gouache painting. I do alcohol ink, sort of collages. So it's my sort of right brain, left brain balance. And it's a nice way for me just to, clear my mind of any clutter, and it refreshes me for the next day.
Absolutely. Well, clearly you need the energy to do what you do. And this conversation has been fantastic. I thank you so much. You have the distinction of being the first person that we're interviewing for this new Career Snapshot series. And I think your story is phenomenal. You've incorporated some great advice along the way to people who might be interested in these kinds of careers. I just wanted to let you know how much Quest appreciates what you're doing and what Roche is doing in the community. I know that you have a lot of efforts working with the schools and trying to encourage more STEM learning. So we look forward to continuing to collaborate with you along the way. And thank you so much for spending time with me today. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Amy, so much for having me. And I'm very impressed with what Quest is doing. And I think it's great for the community and engagement and just overall curiosity and interest in science in general. So congratulations on your journey, and I look forward to more collaborations with you.